A memo leaked during your tenure. It was from you informing your staff that FDA's vaccine safety evaluators had discovered at least 10 children have died after and because of receiving COVID-19 vaccination, and that the real number is higher. You wrote that a public report would be forthcoming, marking the first time that the US FDA will acknowledge that COVID-19 vaccines have killed American children. 5 months later, there's no report and you were gone. An FDA official report then came out a month after you left saying that 0 childhood deaths were definitively linked to the vaccine. So what actually happened there?
Zero. That's the reading of that. Okay. Well, I would say that that's part of that report. Ron Johnson got part of it. Certainly linked. Okay. So when we talk about attribution of what's the cause of death, there is certain, there's likely, there's probable, there's possible, there's uncertain, the standard for certain, is unattainable. Okay. You need to, for instance, if you give the MMR vaccine to kids, occasionally they get a granuloma and you can biopsy it and you can find vaccine product in the granuloma. If you give the chikungunya vaccine and somebody dies from it, you can sample the CSF and you'll find the vaccine strain chikungunya in there. You're not going to find that with myocarditis. Okay, but absolutely, is it the case that kids died of myocarditis from the COVID-19 vaccine? Yes, absolutely it is the case. And just because the death isn't coded as certain and coded as probable or possible, that doesn't negate the fact that it is attributable. In fact, the standard across all of drug development is possible and probable are attributable. I would say...
Well, it's just to be very specific about that then. It said there were 0 childhood deaths definitively linked to the vaccine. 5 deaths were classified as possible and 2 as probably. So that's still, though, less than the 10 that originally went out in that memo.
They changed the report.
Oh.
I had a draft report with 10. They changed it after the media publicity of my letter. And
who changed it?
The people who did the report.
Okay.
The people who said that they had been looking into this issue for years. Let's make a few points. Okay, I want to back up. I want to make one point.
Yeah.
If 1 million people trip on one stair, what's going to happen? 1 million people fall down just one stair. 999,000 just walk it off.
Right.
1,000 people twist an ankle. Maybe 10 people fall and get a gash on the forehead, but one person is going to die. Just 1 million people fall off one stair. Somebody's going to die, right? Like that's just the law of big numbers. Myocarditis is a known side effect of mRNA COVID-19 vaccines, occurring at a frequency as high as 1 in 3,000 per the original Israeli report. And you're getting lots and lots of people to have it. We know that some of those people can actually get scarring of the heart. Some people require pressor support. They go into the ICU. Somebody's going to die. In fact, there are many case reports published globally. You can just look in the published literature of people who've died globally from this. There's a South Korean study that shows something like 20 deaths. So, of course, if the answer was 0 people died of COVID-19 vaccine-related myocarditis, that would be the controversial outcome. Okay, so the media somehow wants to defend this idea that 0 people died. That's preposterous. Somebody's got to die. So what happened was they say they adjudicate all the deaths that come in the VAERS system. This is a passively reported system. So a lot of people may have gotten the shot and died, but nobody decided to report it to the FDA. Or they started the report process, they never completed it. We have data that most people who start the process don't complete it. Of the reports that get completed, they get sent to the FDA, and then they start to look into them. A contractor is supposed to pull the autopsy reports, but this contractor sometimes doesn't pull the autopsy. So we don't have autopsy reports on some of these deaths, which make it difficult to adjudicate and make them unlikely to say even possible for those deaths. So this is the process. Tracy Beth Hogue, who was the CEDAR acting chief, she started to investigate these deaths. She thought she found some that were really kind of telling. Kid gets the vaccine and then is found dead with a heart with lymphocytes infiltrating, looks like myocarditis. Rather plausible. The staff that's worked there for years are very concerned. It undermines what they're supposed to have been doing all these years, surely, because if you're supposed to be looking at safety and you never found it, now somebody new comes along and says you got this problem, you're also, just like Fauci, a bit conflicted about whether or not you're the best person to investigate. But having said that, I still tasked them with looking into it. They sent me a report with 10 deaths, possible, probables, and likelies. And I wrote my memo saying that, a lot has to change because how come this is the first time we're ever talking about it? They downgraded the memo to 7. The point still stands. 7 or 10, the vast majority of these deaths are probably not even reported into the system. We have it, it's a passive collection system. And I'm surprised it's provocative. Like, it shouldn't be provocative that a vaccine with a known side effect of myocarditis, and myocarditis is bad, it can be very bad, that it would kill somebody. That's got to be not that, it would be more implausible that it killed 0 people from myocarditis.
Do you believe the memo was downgraded for political reasons?
Political or professional reasons that nobody wants to look like, this problem is bad.
Do you know who leaked the memo?
Who leaked the memo? Ron Johnson posted the memo. Like, it's not leaked. Ron Johnson has subpoena power. So Ron Johnson got the memo and he has the final memo. There's an additional memo looking at another age group. Ron Johnson hasn't subpoenaed that. Maybe he doesn't even know that exists. But there's a few more deaths in that one. There's 3 more deaths in that one. So it'll be something like 10 deaths.
So what should the public take away from this information, given that even if this higher estimate is accurate, that's sad, but it's not a lot. And even COVID can kill children, even though that's also very rare. So what should people make of all that?
I think people should make of it, it was a really bad idea to vaccinate healthy kids for COVID and force them to do it, especially college kids. There are, on average, college kids did in fact probably were harmed on average by that policy. I mean, we've published on that before I got to the FDA.
Right.
I think public health has to take ownership of the fact that the one-size-fits-all COVID-19 policy and boosters was a bad thing for young people. It did damage.